The snow fell silently outside the window as Mark Davidson stared at his phone, the rejection text message blurring through his tears. Fired on Christmas Eve. How would he tell his daughter there would be no presents this year? Little did he know, fate had placed him in exactly the right coffee shop at exactly the right moment, when Eliza Chen, the formidable CEO of Horizon Innovations, would walk through the door and change his life forever with 7 unexpected words. Can you be my husband? If you're touched by this story of unexpected love, second chances, and the magic that happens when we're at our lowest point, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming stories that remind us all that hope can find us in our darkest moments. Mark Davidson clutched his phone so tightly his knuckles turned white. The text message glared back at him, cruel and final. We regret to inform you that your position has been eliminated, effective immediately. Fired. On Christmas Eve. The bustling coffee shop around him faded into background noise as he stared out the window at the gently falling snow. How was he supposed to tell 7-year-old Lily that Santa might not make it this year? The thought of her disappointed face made his chest physically ache. Is this seat taken? Mark looked up, startled by the voice. A woman stood beside his table, gesturing to the empty chair across from him. She was impeccably dressed in a tailored charcoal suit, her dark hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail. Something about her seemed vaguely familiar. No, go ahead, he mumbled, quickly wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. She sat down with practiced grace, placing an expensive-looking leather portfolio on the table. Terrible day to be out in this weather, she remarked, unwinding a cashmere scarf from her neck. Mark nodded absently, his mind still reeling from the text message. Yeah. The woman studied him for a moment, her dark eyes surprisingly perceptive. You look like you've just received some very bad news. Something about her direct gaze made Mark want to tell the truth. I just got laid off. Right before Christmas. Her eyebrows rose slightly. That's unconscionable timing. Tell me about it. Mark sighed, running a hand through his disheveled hair. I'm a single dad. My daughter, she's expecting Christmas to happen tomorrow. The woman's expression softened. How old is your daughter? 7. Her name's Lily. Despite everything, Mark couldn't help the small smile that formed when he thought of his daughter. She's the best kid in the world. I'm sure she is. The woman extended her hand. I'm Eliza Chen. Mark shook her hand, the name suddenly clicking into place. Wait, Eliza Chen of Horizon Innovations? She nodded, a hint of amusement in her eyes. You've heard of me? Who hasn't? Your company's revolutionizing sustainable technology. Mark had read about her in business magazines. Eliza Chen, the brilliant, notoriously private CEO who had built Horizon Innovations from the ground up. At 35, she was one of the youngest female CEOs in the tech industry. What did you do at your previous job, Mark? She asked. He blinked, realizing he hadn't told her his name. How did you? Your coffee cup, she explained, pointing to where the barista had scrawled his name. Oh. Right. Mark felt his cheeks warm. I was a project manager at Westfield Tech. Nothing as impressive as what you do. Eliza tilted her head slightly. Project management requires exceptional organizational skills and people management. Don't sell yourself short. Before Mark could respond, his phone buzzed with a text. It was from Mrs. Abernathy, his elderly neighbor who watched Lily after school. Sorry, he muttered, quickly reading the message. My daughter's asking when I'll be home. I should go. As he stood to leave, Eliza Chen did something unexpected. She reached into her portfolio and pulled out a business card, writing something on the back before handing it to him. Call this number tomorrow at noon, she said firmly. Mark stared at the card. Why? Because I might have a proposition for you. Her eyes held his with an intensity that made his breath catch. One that could solve both our problems. Christmas morning dawned bright and clear, the fresh snow sparkling under the winter sun. Mark had stayed up until 3 a.m. wrapping the few modest gifts he'd managed to purchase before losing his job. They weren't the expensive presents Lily had asked for in her letter to Santa, but he hoped they would be enough. "Daddy, wake up. It's Christmas." Lily bounced onto his bed, her curly brown hair wild around her face, eyes bright with excitement. For a moment, looking at her joy, Mark forgot about everything else. "Merry Christmas, Pumpkin," he said, pulling her into a hug. They made their way to their small living room, where a scraggly pine tree stood in the corner, decorated with homemade ornaments and a strand of multicolored lights. Lily's face fell slightly when she saw the few packages beneath it. "Is that all?" she asked, then immediately looked guilty. "I mean, thank you, Santa." Mark's heart sank. Santa had a tough year, sweetheart. But he brought what he could. Lily nodded bravely. "That's okay. Mrs. Abernathy says it's not about the presents anyway." Mark swallowed the lump in his throat. "Mrs. Abernathy is very wise." They spent the morning opening gifts, coloring books, a new scarf, and a stuffed unicorn that Mark had found on clearance. Lily declared each one perfect, with such sincerity that Mark had to turn away to hide his tears. At 11:55, while Lily was coloring in her new books, Mark found himself staring at Eliza Chen's business card. The handwritten number on the back seemed to taunt him. What kind of proposition could the CEO of a major tech company possibly have for him? With trembling fingers, he dialed the number. Eliza answered on the first ring. "Mark. I'm glad you called." "You said noon," he replied, unsure what else to say. "I appreciate punctuality." There was a pause. "How's your Christmas going?" Mark glanced at Lily, who was humming Jingle Bells as she carefully colored inside the lines. We're making the best of it." "I need to meet with you today," Eliza said, her tone businesslike. "Can you come to the address I'm about to text you?" "Bring your daughter." "Today?" "It's Christmas." "I'm aware of the date. This can't wait." Something in her voice softened. "I promise it will be worth your while." An hour later, Mark found himself driving through one of the city's most exclusive neighborhoods, Lily chattering excitedly in the back seat about the enormous houses with their elaborate Christmas decorations. "Are we going to a party, Daddy?" she asked as he turned onto a private drive lined with snow-dusted pine trees. "Not exactly, sweetheart. Daddy has a meeting." "On Christmas?" Lily's nose wrinkled in confusion. "Sometimes grown-ups have to work on holidays," he explained, though he was just as bewildered by the situation. The driveway opened up to reveal a stunning modern home, all clean lines and glass, perched on the edge of a frozen lake. Mark parked his beat-up sedan next to a sleek black Tesla and took a deep breath. "This is a pretty house," Lily whispered as they approached the front door. Before Mark could ring the bell, the door swung open. Eliza Chen stood there, dressed more casually than the day before in dark jeans and a cream-colored sweater, but no less intimidating. "You came," she said, as if she'd half expected him not to. Her eyes moved to Lily. "And you must be Lily. I've heard you're the best kid in the world." Lily giggled, suddenly shy. "My daddy says that." "Well, your daddy seems like a very smart man." Eliza stepped aside. "Please, come in." The interior of the house was minimalist but warm, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the frozen lake. A Christmas tree stood in the corner, tastefully decorated with silver and blue ornaments, but there were no presents beneath it. "Lily," Eliza said, "there's a room down that hallway with some things you might enjoy. Would you like to check it out while I talk to your dad?" Lily looked to Mark for permission. When he nodded, she skipped off down the hallway. Once they were alone, Eliza gestured for Mark to sit on one of the sleek sofas. "Coffee?" "No, thank you." Mark perched on the edge of the sofa, feeling completely out of place. "What is this about, Miss Chen?" "Eliza, please. She sat across from him, her posture perfect. I'll get straight to the point. I need a husband, and I think you might be the perfect candidate. Mark stared at her, certain he'd misheard. Excuse me? A husband, she repeated calmly. Or more accurately, the appearance of one. Is this some kind of joke? I never joke about business, and this is very much a business proposition. Eliza leaned forward. My board of directors is concerned about my public image. They believe a family would make me more relatable to investors and the public. More stable. So you want to, what? Hire me to pretend to be your husband? Mark couldn't believe what he was hearing. Essentially, yes. For 1 year. Eliza's expression remained perfectly serious. In exchange, I would provide you and Lily with financial security. A generous monthly stipend, a college fund for Lily, and a position at Horizon Innovations when our arrangement concludes. Mark's mind reeled. This is insane. Is it? Eliza raised an eyebrow. You need a job and financial stability for your daughter. I need a family image to satisfy my board. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement. But it would be a lie. A temporary one. With very real benefits for both of us. Eliza stood and walked to the window, looking out at the frozen lake. My company is on the verge of a breakthrough that could revolutionize clean energy. But I need my board's complete support, and they're hesitating because they see me as... She paused, a flicker of vulnerability crossing her face. Cold. Detached. Unmarriageable. That's sexist, Mark said automatically. Eliza turned to him with a hint of surprise. Yes, it is. But it's also reality. If I were a man, my dedication to my work would be admirable. As a woman, it makes me suspect. Mark ran a hand through his hair, trying to process everything. Why me? You could hire an actor or something. I need someone genuine. Someone with integrity. Her eyes met his. When I saw you in that coffee shop, devastated about losing your job but mostly concerned about your daughter. I knew you were the right person. Before Mark could respond, Lily came running back into the room, her eyes wide with excitement. Daddy! There's a whole room full of toys in there. And books. And a dollhouse bigger than me. Eliza smiled at Lily, her expression softening in a way Mark hadn't seen before. Do you like it? Lily nodded enthusiastically. Is it all for Christmas? It could be, Eliza said, glancing at Mark. If your dad agrees to help me with something important. Mark felt cornered. The hope in his daughter's eyes, the prospect of financial security after months of struggling, but at what cost? Can we talk more about this? He asked Eliza quietly. In private? She nodded. Of course. Lily, would you like some hot chocolate while your dad and I discuss grown-up things? Yes, please. Lily bounced on her toes. After settling Lily in the kitchen with a mug of hot chocolate and Christmas cookies, Eliza led Mark to her home office. This is crazy, Mark said as soon as the door closed behind them. You're asking me to lie to everyone, including my daughter. Not necessarily, Eliza replied. We could tell Lily a version of the truth. That we're helping each other out. And what happens after a year? When you suddenly don't need a family anymore? How do I explain that to her? Eliza considered this. We say we tried, but it didn't work out. Amicable separation. You'd still have the financial benefits we agreed upon. Mark paced the room. I don't know if I can do this. Mark. Eliza's voice was gentle but firm. Look at me. He stopped pacing and met her gaze. I'm not asking you to do anything inappropriate. We would have separate bedrooms. This would be a business arrangement with clear boundaries. She paused. But it would give Lily stability, opportunities she deserves. And it would help me achieve something I've worked my entire life for. Mark thought about the text message from yesterday, about the meager Christmas he'd been able to provide for Lily, about the mounting bills on his kitchen table. I need time to think about this, he finally said. Eliza nodded. Of course. But I need an answer by New Year's Eve. The board meets on January 2nd. As they walked back to the kitchen, Mark's mind was a storm of conflicting thoughts. This was insane, unethical, potentially harmful to Lily. But it was also a lifeline when he was drowning. Lily looked up from her hot chocolate, her face smeared with chocolate and cookie crumbs. Daddy, can we stay for dinner? Ms. Eliza says she has a chef who makes the best mac and cheese in the world. Mark looked at Eliza, who shrugged. Antonio does make exceptional mac and cheese. And it's Christmas. No one should eat alone on Christmas. Something in her tone made Mark wonder if that had been her plan all along, to spend Christmas by herself in this beautiful, empty house. We'd love to stay for dinner, he found himself saying. Eliza's smile was small but genuine. Excellent. Dinner was surprisingly pleasant. Antonio, Eliza's personal chef, did indeed make the best mac and cheese Mark had ever tasted, along with a feast of other dishes. Lily chatted happily throughout the meal, drawing Eliza out with innocent questions about her favorite colors, animals, and books. To Mark's surprise, Eliza answered each question thoughtfully, revealing a warmth he hadn't expected. She listened to Lily's stories with genuine interest, never once checking her phone or appearing impatient. After dinner, they moved to the living room, where Eliza surprised them both by producing 2 wrapped packages from behind the Christmas tree. I hope you don't mind, she said, handing them to Lily. I thought you might like these. Lily's eyes widened. For me? More presents? Mark started to protest, but Eliza silenced him with a look. It's Christmas, she said simply. Lily tore into the first package to reveal the exact doll she had asked for in her letter to Santa, the one Mark hadn't been able to afford. Sparkle Princess Unicorn, she squealed, hugging the box to her chest. How did you know? Eliza smiled mysteriously. Santa might have mentioned it. The second package contained a children's science kit, complete with a real microscope and slides. This is for when you get a little older, Eliza explained. I had one just like it when I was a girl. It's what made me fall in love with science. Lily threw her arms around Eliza's waist. Thank you. This is the best Christmas ever. Over Lily's head, Eliza's eyes met Mark's. There was something vulnerable in her expression, something almost pleading. Later, after Lily had fallen asleep on the sofa, exhausted from the excitement of the day, Mark and Eliza sat by the fire with glasses of wine. How did you know about the doll? Mark asked quietly. Eliza looked slightly embarrassed. I may have called Mrs. Abernathy this morning. She was very helpful. You called my neighbor? I wanted to get something Lily would truly love. Eliza swirled the wine in her glass. Was that overstepping? Mark should have been angry at the invasion of privacy, but instead, he felt touched by the gesture. No. It was kind. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the flames dance in the fireplace. Why don't you have a family of your own? Mark finally asked. If you don't mind me asking. Eliza's expression closed slightly. I've been focused on my career. Horizon is my baby. That's not the whole story, is it? She gave him a sharp look, then sighed. No.